I'm Jaycee, here with Mr. Maxey. Is it okay if I record you?
Yes.
Okay. In your opinion, how well do you think the school prepares students for education after high school besides the JAG class?
I think we make some efforts at starting to do this freshman year with the PCC, Preparing for College and Careers class. I know there are some classes you can take to help prep with it, but sometimes students don't have room in their overall schedule for those classes.
Okay. And how could the school do better at preparing students?
Well, like I said, we do a pretty good job with our freshman class, but I think we need to follow along sophomore year, do some check-ins in freshman year and senior year. And I think the counselors do a good job of having the meetings with each of the classes, but some of the stuff too might have to have a little bit more hands-on approach. So maybe some more focus on it in advisory.
Okay, and why do you think the school doesn't walk us through things like applications, FAFSA, and figuring out other college-type topics?
So there's two main reasons for that. Number one, to sit down with each student and be able to walk them through that would take an enormous amount of time. In speaking with your counselors, I know that they would love to have those individual conversations with each student, but their job responsibilities require them to do so many different things. They don't have time to sit down with every student and help them out with it. So they kind of do it on an as-needed basis. The other reason that school doesn't have that focus on it is because a lot of times we assume that parents are going to help you out with it. Those are some of the things that in education are assumed that are taught at home or helped out with at home. I think school definitely has interest in helping and teach those things, but whenever you add one thing, you have to figure out what else are you taking out.
And based on the students you've talked to, how many have struggled with things like the applications and the FAFSA?
I think a lot of students have struggled with it. I know when I was in high school, I definitely struggled with it, and I had to have a lot of help.
And do you think a club preparing for college would be helpful?
I do. I think that the club should also have different focuses for different months. It could be like maybe in October they focus all about FAFSA for that meeting. And then in November and December, it could be about early acceptance into college. Maybe another month could be about how majors work in types of colleges. So I think a club would definitely be helpful, but you would want to make sure you've got kind of structured meetings that are interactive, where you not only present information, but students can actually get some practice and some help with it.
And were there any ways that the school helped you whenever you were in school?
Yes, so one of the biggest things has more to do with males. It's called selective service registration. So for US law, every US male between 18 and 25 has to register with selective services. And so this is like if there ever were a military draft again. But the interesting thing about that is because it's a federal law, and you have to have your selective service registration done if you want to be eligible for student loans, for FAFSA. If you decide not to register, you are not eligible for those things because it's a federal benefit and you're not compliant with federal law. So I remember my high school counselor told me in the office, hey, you turned 18, we need to get you registered with selective services, so when you fill out FAFSA, you'll be good to go. So she helped me out with that to make sure that I was good to go there.
And your class is very helpful with things that come after high school, but not everyone is able to take your class. Could you tell us a rough outline?
So the JAG program stands for Jobs for America's Graduates, and the whole point and purpose is to work with juniors and seniors and help them figure out what it is that they want to do after high school. In it, I like to talk about how I get to do a lot of things that I know a lot of other teachers want to do in their classes, but because of how the educational requirements are set up, they don't always have time to cover those things. So what we do is we look at future career paths. We look at colleges, we look at going straight to the workforce, we look at military, and we spend time exploring the process. How do you get from high school to where you want to be someday? It doesn't just magically happen. And so how does that process work? So right now we're in the middle of our career presentation unit where we're creating a presentation on something we're interested in. And what I want to stress about that is not just an assignment for an assignment's sake. The way that it's put together is it's a process that teaches you how to look at a career. So if you change your mind 3, 4, 5 times, that's fine. As long as you follow the same process we're using in this project, you can explore a career and teach yourself how to get there. And I think that that's very helpful. But there's a lot of cool things we do like that in the JAG program, where we'll do college visits, we'll have in guest speakers, We'll do field trips and things like that when we can, COVID permitting. But there's a lot of cool things, and that's why the whole program exists, is to help students figure out what's next after high school.
Thank you for allowing me in.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm Mikala Voorhees, and this is Mrs. Beaver. Do I have permission to record you for this interview?
Yes, you do.
Okay, so were there any ways school helped you with preparing for college when you were in high school? If so, how so?
For me, I think it was helpful to take like AP and honors classes. I didn't take that for every subject. It was English and psychology was really the biggest AP and honors classes that I took. The rigor really helped me with that. So that was sort of the biggest prep that I had. Otherwise, for me, being an English major, just reading and taking elective courses, with literature classes really helped me a lot as well. I also would argue that being in sports and taking all the gym classes that I could really helped me learn. It boosts your mental capacity when you are engaging in physical activities. So I think that was a big one for me.
All right, yeah. If the school can't fit in getting us ready for education after high school, do you believe a club would help the students?
Oh yeah, I think I think there's some nuanced stuff when it comes to applying for colleges that maybe kind of gets lost along the way, and to dedicate time and space just for college prep would be really, really helpful. There's lots of things that maybe we don't even get to in class when you talk about, like if you take the AP AP English, AP Literature test. Me teach English real good. A lot of times you get, if you pass that test, you get college credit, and a lot of times you can test out of this entry-level English class at the college level. But I would recommend that you still take that English class, because it will teach you how to write a college-level essay at that university, and the writing requirements might be different. So there's little nuanced things like that are kind of missed along the way.
All right. How could the school do better preparing students for college?
Well, I think that anybody who is college bound needs to be taking some semblance of higher level classes, right? AP honors, that's helpful. I think students should be taking advantage of things like academic team or spell bowl or
so, like,
clubs.
more encouragement towards those things.
Yeah, like maybe providing like a list of things, like here are things that you could potentially engage with that will help you in college down the road. But also I think the idea of a club would be really helpful too. I don't know if there's a specific class that we have that talks about these things. Maybe your counselor's offering like a seminar or something about like what colleges are looking for, you know?
All right. In your opinion, how well do you think the school prepares its students for education after high school?
I think if you utilize all of its resources, I think you're fairly prepared. I think it depends on what you're studying and the workload that you take on, so I think it kind of depends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm Mikala, and this is Aaliyah. Do I have your permission to record you?
Yes.
All right. Do you think you're taught enough about college in school?
No.
No? All right. Do you think our school should teach us more about applying for scholarships in college?
Yes.
Okay. If a club was started for extra help preparing, would you consider joining, and why?
Yes. The main reason is because when thinking about college, you like have to go to the counselor instead of just being taught. Some people have anxiety or they're nervous, so they don't really want to talk to people who they don't see very often. So
Yeah.
that'd be good.
Okay. If we could find a way to get college touched on more in school, would you want to help make that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm Jaycee, and this is Casey. Is it okay if I record you?
Yes.
Okay. If we could find a way to get college touched on more in school, would you want to help that make it happen?
Yes.
And if a club was started for extra help preparing, would you consider joining?
Yes.
Do you think our school should teach us more about applying for scholarships in college?
Yes.
And how would they do so?
Maybe give us a class or have meetings after school to help us prepare for what college is and what they're looking for.
And do you think you're taught enough about college in school?
No.
How could the school do better preparing students for college?
Letting us go to more meetings and having more representatives come.
And in your opinion, how well do you think the school prepares its students for education after high school?
Horribly.
Thank you.